What's up, skate fam, and welcome back to D Skates. I'm your host, David Laliette. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the differences between the new and the old Hardcore Evo, and after having the new Hardcore Evo for one whole year, what my thoughts of this skate overall are. Before we get started, make sure you're subscribed to D Skates so that you get updates about the channel and you know when new, fun, exciting skate videos are coming out, and let's jump into it. The first thing that I'm gonna say right off the bat is there are things that I like about the new Evo and there are things that I don't like about the new Evo, but overall I am a bit disappointed in it. So first off, let me tell you why I got a second Hardcore Evo in the first place. Most of you know that I've been skating the 2019 Evo for a few years now. I have it in black. It's a shelf model, non-custom. Came with a Trinity mount, proprietary to Powerslide. Since then, it's been my all-around favorite urban, slalom, dance, downhill, etc. skate boot. Now, the reason why I got these custom Evos is because I needed a 165 skate. I have a couple of 165 skates, but I did not have any that were made with a carbon base or any carbon in them at all. Like my Seba Highlights, which I was mostly using for my 165 frames that I like, they were very heavy. And I didn't really want that. I wanted a lighter, stiffer, more comfortable feel like I got from my 2019 Evos. And I went to the My Powerslide website. I designed my own Evos. I thought, man, these look so cool. I would love the idea of having a custom set of Evos. When I found out I could get them in 165 because they were custom, I went through with it. It cost a little more than I would have liked for it to. I think I paid just over $700 US after shipping just for the boots alone. It's a little too expensive even after inflation, but here we are. I did it. I've had them one whole year, so I want to share with you my thoughts on the differences between the old and the new Evos and why I think the old Evos are better. So first off, we'll start with just the general outer layer of the two skates. The old Evo is mostly wrapped in leather. It's got Kevlar strands woven into it, which I can only assume helps the integrity of the boot. It's got these plastic side covers on the outside of the toe box and two ratchet straps, one over the ankle area and one at the top of the cuff. When I look at the new Evo, and when I looked at the new Evo before I got it, it just looks a little cheaper. I don't want to call it cheap. It's not cheap. It's not a badly made skate. Don't get me wrong, but it does not look as sturdy and as well made as the older Evo. And let me tell you, it also does not feel as sturdy and as well made as the older Evo. So it's got this mesh, which I thought would not hold up very well. Surprisingly, it has held up very well, a lot better than I ever expected it to. But the absence of the Kevlar weaving is very obvious, and whenever I touch this little side part, this black leathery part, it just feels like fake leather with some foam underneath it, some very thin foam maybe. It does not feel high quality real leather like the older Evo. And when I squeeze the two skates on the side, I can feel that the integrity of the older Evo is a lot more sturdy. I get a better resistance in the hand. I feel like there is support built into this part of the boot very well, whereas the new Evo is much softer, has more play, more give. Now, to be fair, that is a bit more comfortable, right? Because we have a little more give. We don't have as much pressure on the boots. We don't have maybe as much of an issue with break-in time in the beginning. It is more comfortable, but also it's got more give. That's my general complaint, is that it simply lacks support in comparison to the old Evo. The two do not feel the same. It goes all the way across the boot, not just this part, but this part, in my opinion, is the most important when it comes to support, locking the toe box and therefore the heel in place. And then at the top, we also have just a bit more give in the newer one. It just does not feel as stiff and sturdy as the old one does. Now, Powerslide is still marketing the Hardcore Evo as an urban / slalom skate. I don't know if I would call it that anymore. It's a high-end fitness skate now, is what it is. I view the old model as a performance-based urban / slalom skate, but this new one I would view as a high-end fitness skate. I don't really like it for slalom. It's just not supportive enough, in my opinion. So now let's look at the carbon. Well, the shape of the carbon is pretty much the same. I don't really find any differences in this. The footbed feels the same. The base of the boot feels the same. Really, the differences lie in the part that wraps around the foot. So you still get lots of performance, lots of bang for your buck when it comes to your push and how much power transfer you get through the carbon base of the skate. The heel feels nice in both, equally nice, I would say. My feet, I feel like, fit this boot perfectly in both instances. That makes me glad that I got the new Evo, simply because I knew that this skate was going to fit me and I could spend the money and not worry about ending up with a skate that didn't fit very well. I know that we've talked about that before. If you're interested in why I'm so hesitant to buy new inline skates in models that I haven't tried before, I will put a link to a video about that in the description below, about the problem with inline skate sizing. If you've not already seen that and you're looking at buying a new set of skates, I really think you should check it out. Let's go to the straps and the buckles. In both cases, we have the same strap and buckle design. It's a ratchet strap with little folded rivets in the buckles. Right off the bat, I can tell you that the straps in the newer Evo are softer. They don't feel as well made. They don't feel as durable and as stiff and as supportive. I feel like I have to ratchet them farther to get everything into place and as snug as I want. And that could also be the fact that, one, it's a different material on the outside like we just discussed, and two, there's also a different tongue. The tongue in the newer Evo is a lot thinner, and I feel like it's a little stiffer in it. Again, more support in that area. And then the new one is very thick, and it's still kind of stiff. It's stiffer than it looks, being as thick as it is, but it's also very soft on the inside. So I feel like I have to ratchet these buckles a lot tighter. And that is a problem. If the buckles are not as well made, if they're made from a softer plastic. I don't know much about the chemistry of making plastics, but I can tell you that just in my hand, the newer Evo feels like the strap is just not as well made. If you look at the difference in the two, I have skated the new Evo for a little over 3 years now. And just look at how stiff these straps still are, how much form they still have left in them. You can let go of them and they spring into place and they stand straight up. Whereas the new ones, I've only been skating them a year. You can see where they're misshapen from use. They've been bent here and there, and they maintain that bent shape. I've got pieces of the folded grooves that hold the strap into place that have bent and warped. They just don't hold the pressure as well. It's simply not as good of a strap. And as far as the buckles go, the buckles have a design difference here that I like on the new ones a lot better than I like on the old ones. With the old ones, the problem that I would run into is I'd get the strap real tight, and it would come time to take off the skate, and I'd press on the button and it just would not release, and I'd have to press and press, until I'm hurting my thumb sometimes. It's not that big of a deal. It's nice to know that it's secure and it's not just going to come undone. But what's nice about the new Evo is that the buckle release buttons are more present and more functional. I really like the implementation of this design. Now, where I dock it is when I'm ratcheting the strap down. It doesn't feel as good. When I pull the buckle forward on the old Evo, I feel like almost instantly I get resistance from the strap and I get a click into place pretty quickly. So the tolerances just feel very tight, very well made. It feels like I'm using a nicely machined buckle, whereas the newer ones, not so much. They rattle around a little bit. You can even hear them rattle when you skate sometimes. And when I'm buckling them down, I have to push the buckle so far forward before I get any resistance, before I get that snap. And sometimes if I push it forward and I don't actively pull it back into its original position, it will just stick. It'll hang. It feels like tolerances are not as tight. It doesn't get as much resistance. You have to push a lot farther forward. It just doesn't feel like all the moving parts in this buckle were tightly designed like the original. So even though it's a little easier to release, and I do like the release buttons better, is it better? No, not even close, in my opinion, not even close. The laces are generally the same. I've complained about the laces before in other videos. They're okay. It's not that big of a deal because usually with skates that have buckles, you're going to be relying on the buckles for your support a little more so. However, on the newer Evo, I feel like I should probably get proper waxed laces and use those waxed laces, which will hold certain areas of the boot as tight as I want. And it's because the newer straps don't perform as well at their job as the older straps do. So on the original Evo, it didn't matter that the laces were not very good because the buckles were fantastic and the straps were awesome. But on the new ones, we need wax laces on these Powerslide. Now, as a side note, speaking about my experience ordering these skates, I ordered them in March of 2021. I got them, I think, 2 months later, which is the expected production time that Powerslide gave me. So they were right on the mark with that. I went to the My Powerslide website and I designed these skates in their digital editor. Now, I don't have any complaints about how they turned out. I love how they turned out. Actually, I'm happier with how they turned out versus what I thought they were going to be like. But I recognize that maybe that's not the case for everyone, right? So let me show you what they were intended to look like versus the photos that the factory sent me once they were finished. So you can see that these look very different. We've got a darker purple in the original and a lighter purple in the real thing. And then in the original render for the gold, it looks more of a like a flat bronze color versus in this, it's a shiny, reflective gold. Just know that what you design in the editor is not necessarily going to be exactly what you get. And lastly, about this little leather piece that is very shiny gold here, you might be thinking, well, it just looks like I'm going to go down one time and slide that across the pavement and that finish is going to wipe right away. And you would be absolutely correct, because that's exactly how this little scuff got here. I did a power slide. I got a little too deep on the edges and I slid this side of the boot right across the pavement for just a split second and it wiped it right off. So it's not sturdy. If you want them to stay perfect, don't use them. If you're not going to use them, I would just get the black stock skate because it's cheaper. Again, these cost me a little over $700. The boot stock all black, no custom is going to cost you less than $600 US at the time of filming this. There's two questions here. One is, does it add up? Does the new one add up? It's good. It's not bad. It's intended, in my opinion, for a different audience, for a different purpose. Does that make it as good for what I bought it to do? No. If the new Evo is a 10 out of 10, and I would say that of all the urban skates that I've enjoyed, I would say that it's as close to 10 out of 10 as you can get. I would give these new ones a 7.5. I don't think they're on par. If you need a high-end, comfortable fitness skate that is heat moldable and has a carbon base and gives you lots of power transfer, but is also comfortable at the same time, I would say put some wax laces in these things and you will have as close to a perfect fitness skate as you can get from Powerslide. How does it measure up to other fitness skates? Well, I couldn't tell you because I don't really use fitness skates. I use urban skates, which again is what I bought this skate for. Okay, and so I guess the final question is, would I have bought these newer Evos if I had known then what I know now? No. No, I wouldn't have. And again, not because they're a bad skate, but because they don't function as I wanted them to. I wanted a 165 skate. I wanted it to be as close to the Trinity Evo that I have as possible. At the time that I started looking into the Evo, I was already looking at the FR spins. They were fairly new. There weren't a lot of reviews about them. There weren't any reviews about them, actually. And there just wasn't a lot of general information, but I was going to take a risk and give them a shot. They looked similar enough to the Evo. They look very supportive. They have carbon base. Both have a fairly low cuff, which I like, and it's why I don't have skates like the Micro Delta F or any of the Seba carbon cuff skates. The cuff is too high for my taste. I like the cuff to be lower. Now, what do other people think of these? I have friends that love them. Lots of people I know own these new Evos and they love them. And again, they do all sorts of urban skating in them, lots of slides and jumps and spins and things of that nature. Everything you would imagine other than grinding that will put stress on a boot like this, they put them through and they love them. They have no complaints, but also I think that that's because they haven't used the older Evo. They don't know how different the two skates are and really, in the end, what they're missing. Those are my thoughts on the new Powerslide Hardcore Evo. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to D Skates, hit the subscribe button, that big red subscribe button underneath the video. Make sure you click the bell and get all your notifications from this channel so that you get notified every time I upload new, exciting, fun skating content. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you the next time I lace up.